Bob's BBQ here. Sunday, I think it's October the 5th, and the new replacement controller come in. I thought I might do a video for those that might have to replace theirs. So follow along. First thing you want to do, you're going to need a few tools, two or three tie wraps, a pair of wire cutters, and a Phillips screwdriver. And the first thing you want to do, let me see if I can get my phone down here. I don't know if I'll be able to. You can kind of see there's two screws. There's one on that side and one on this side. Yeah, not very good. Hopefully you can see that. So you got to take those two screws off. There's a metal plate right here. Unlike some of the older ones that just snapped in, you got to take these two screws here out. You got to take off, I want to say it's about 9 or 12 screws off this bottom plate. So I'm going to get that done, and then I'll come back. Okay, this is approximately what you're going to see when you pull the cover off. There's your fan, and this is your auger up here. This part right back here is your AC to DC converter. Your controller is right up in there. So you're going to have a couple of wire ties. I don't remember, mine's been replaced once already, so I don't remember if it was 2 or 3, but you want to make sure they're all taken off. This is a screw connection here. This is the power, the DC coming in, and then you have several others. There is one that comes up in here to this auger motor. It's a little bit more difficult to get to, but if you do that before you put the controller in, it makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to get all these undone and I'll be back. Okay, a little update. My controller was actually not bad. It was actually this connection right here. This is a 4-pin connection which goes to the fan. First of all, before I say any of this, I am electronic engineer. If you do any of these tests, do so at your own risk. I'm not responsible. But this connection right here is for the DC into the controller. When I first pulled the bottom off, I wanted to actually check to see what the voltage was. So I unscrewed this and checked it. It was like 12.2 volts or somewhere in that range. I don't remember exactly, but it did confirm that it was a 12 volt. And I guess in doing so, because I had it plugged in, the fan was kind of turning on and off, and so I started wiggling the connection here. I've got to move out of the way. Let me see if I can set this over here. And as I was wiggling the connection in the connector itself, not in the wire, it was the fan would, try to turn on, whatever. So to explain this a little bit, most DC type fans, they will use a controller or something to vary the voltage, but I'm suspecting what was happening in here is the ground was being disrupted, which was what was causing the fan to run wide open. And I was a little bit surprised that there would actually be voltage on this all the time. But anyway, I was able to temporarily to fix this. I may still end up having to change it out, but this plug does not fit really snug, and I mean even on the new one. So if you have any kind of issues, all of these motors in this 1600 PSE Elite are all DC motors. So if you have any issues, make sure you wiggle check the connections. I probably should have done that, but the way it was acting, I just assumed that, you know, it was a controller, because you know, the fan was staying on all the time at full blast, and this is a variable speed fan, so it can speed up or slow down. But anyway, what I did was I put a piece of heat shrink. I got it you know, on there good and tight, and then I put a piece of heat shrink over it and shrunk it down, and so far it seems to be working. But I don't know how long it'll work. I still may end up having to change it out, but I figured it was worth a try. And so I wanted to add that to this thing for the controller. So we're gonna do a startup and try it at 180 smoke mode. And I just started it up. It's already starting to smoke. I will get back with you, but it does seem like the temperatures are holding better without the air gap mod. They're running 10 to 15 degrees over the set point, which is a whole lot better than 25 to 30 degrees or more. Be back in a little bit. Okay, Bob's BBQ, I'm going to wrap up this video for today's work here. The main takeaway from this is the problems that I was having with the controller, and also the temperature differences, and I'm still having some differences, but not as much. To recap, when I had the air gap mod and the 4-window flame tamer on here, I was getting anywhere between 40 to 50 degree differences from the controller set point and the actual temperature inside of the grill. And I'm talking about left and right. They were pretty even, but that big of differences. And so I tried replacing another RTD probe. That didn't make no difference. Then I had this problem with the controller where as soon as I plugged it in, the fan would come on and it would just stay running all the time and would run full speed. So they sent me another controller. As it turned out, it wasn't the controller after all. It was a connection issue. This fan is a variable speed. It has 2 wires for the RPM control and sense, and then it has a hot and a ground. I'm suspecting maybe the ground was disconnecting or something, or one of the RPM sense wires. I'm not sure exactly, but I've kind of got it jerry rigged in there with some heat shrink tape to hold it better and make a tighter connection. Hopefully it'll work. If not, I've still got the other controller that I can put in there. That connection is not really a very secure connection, at least on the 2 controllers that I've got. It has been kind of loose. So let's talk about the temperatures. So since I removed the air gap mod first, as a former electronic service engineer, we always learn to try to isolate and eliminate. So try to do one thing at a time. You change too many variables, you chase yourself around in a circle. But I took the air gap mod out first, and the temperatures dropped down from the set point to the actual temperature in the pit was running probably I want to say 15 to 25 degrees was the average. Sometimes it might get up to as high as 30, but most of the time was between 15 to 20 to 25 degrees max from the set point, which is still a little high in my opinion. I believe I wish there was a way that we could go in there and adjust that offset. Every PID controller has a value that the factory sets, and in case you don't know, because the RTD is over on the left hand side, they calibrate it to the center of the pit, and they use that offset to, because you can't have a RTD probe right in the middle where you got to cook your food, so they have to adjust for that, and that's what that offset is for. And if we had access to get into there to adjust that, we could do that. But my probe is very, very close to that wall, and I suspect it has something to do with that. But here again, when I put the air gap mod in, it's actually reducing the amount of heat that's getting back to the RTD. Now what that tells me is on this particular pit, I'm not saying on every pit boss, but on this newer model, the PSE, they may have calibrated and taken into consideration that extra heat, and whenever you put the air gap mod in there, it's blocking that, and now it's causing it to read higher than what it actually is. And so I did that test, and like I said, the temperatures dropped down. I think they're still a little bit too far off, but much better. Then I tried it without the flame tamer. The reason why I did that was I wanted to see how big a difference it is between left and right. Also, it's a pain with this grill because it has the removable ash tray from the bottom, and every time you move that thing, that the flame tamer falls out anyway, and then you got to remove all the guts and everything and put the thing back in there, and it's just a pain. So I took it out, and I've been running it. I'll attach a screenshot or something, but the differences are very, very minimal, and I would say it's probably at max 10 degrees. Sometimes it's running anywhere between 2 to 5 degrees from left to right. The bottom left corner is a little bit hotter, and I have a little video clip I'll put in here that has some of the temperatures, and right now I've got it set. Most of these are running about 180, and the one in the middle is running right about 200. So right above the fire pot is running about 200, and I've got it set for 160. So all the other ones on the two ends are running about 180. So that's about 20 degrees higher, and that's pretty much about what the fireboard is showing as well. 180 to 185 set at 160. We're talking about 20 to 25 degrees difference. Much better than 40 to 50 the way it was before. But anyway, I'm not knocking the mod at all. I've still got them, but for some reason they are causing the temperature on this specific pit to be much higher. So I'm suspecting maybe when they came out with this new controller, they may have adjusted the offset to compensate for that extra heat, and putting that baffle in there blocks that heat, and that causes it to actually read higher. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. Good night, everybody.